What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Okay, so the craziness is just getting even more crazy. That's right, folks. We're talking about tariffs again.
Sir.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I had to rip that off. I found that's from Steven Crowder. I just found that freaking hilarious. Because that's an actual movie, by the way, Terrifier. And, you know, that couldn't be more apt, more applicable to what's going on right now. So I had to go ahead and throw that in there. But, you know, once again, you know, the folks over at MSNBC, they're living in La La Land. They're living in delusion dream world right now. Of course, we already know this. But, you know, they just seem to think that Joe Biden was this grand, great president, like the best president ever.
Exactly no one was predicting a recession was even possible thanks to the Biden economy that Donald Trump inherited and lied about today.
Joe Biden handed us over a country that was in very serious trouble economically.
Joe Biden handed him the greatest economy any president has ever handed another president.
Nothing could be further from the truth. As a matter of fact, our economy has been on limp mode for a pretty good little while now. As a matter of fact, this goes back even into Donald Trump's presidency a little bit because of COVID, right? We were in kind of a bubble. Yeah, sure, Donald Trump was making moves. He was doing a pretty good job. Our economy was just booming. As a matter of fact, everybody was making money hand over fist. The stock market was doing great. And then COVID happened, and then all this government spending, and it's been insanity ever since then. It's been absolute insanity as far as government spending ever since that point. The markets, as a matter of fact, the stock markets, they've been in a bubble, it seems like, ever since. Of course, they've corrected, you know, a little bit, but they haven't really corrected to where they should be. But these people are just blowing my mind with their nutsness, if you will, their nutism, because they're just absolutely losing it. As a matter of fact, I got a news article I'm going to show you guys right quick, and then I got another part of that clip that I want to show you here in a second. But check this out. It says, "It will all work out very well. Trump happy after shock tariff U-turn as stock markets soar." Now, as we know, though, the stock markets, as a matter of fact, came right back down. Now, this is centrist news. This isn't left-wing news, but it's not right-wing news either. This was obviously made before the stock markets came back down. But you've got Democrats out here yelling about insider trading. Get this, folks. Watch. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and run that clip. Check this out.
Some senators were wondering today just how much insider trading might have been going on in and around the Trump White House before Donald Trump made his announcement that sent the stock market skyrocketing back up, but not all the way back up to where it was before Donald Trump started his economic death march of the last 7 days.
Absolutely. I'm writing to the White House to demand who knew in advance that the president was going to once again flip-flop on tariffs, and are people cashing in? There is just all too much opportunity for people in the White House and the administration to be insider trading, and you can't put it past them for a minute. So we're going to try to find out.
This administration is replete with grifters. Corruption is its middle name. And I have no doubt that a investigation of stock dealing as well as potentially other investments is going to reveal deep corruption in this administration. Insider trading is a real threat here, and I hope there will be a searching, penetrating investigation into the potential for manipulation and insider trading of securities.
In the war of Donald Trump versus the world, Donald Trump lasted much longer than I thought he would at the beginning of his war. He lasted almost a full 7 days. I didn't expect Donald Trump to keep fighting his war after 1 day of the stock market crashing. I didn't think Donald Trump was crazy enough to accept even 1 full day of the stock market crashing. But I was wrong about that.
Yes, my guy, you were definitely wrong about that, because either you are very, very delusional, or you're lying for clicks for some reason. You're pandering to the Democratic base to try to rile them up. Oh, look how bad the Trump administration is, blah, 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 blah. But the height of hypocrisy and all this, y'all, you got to love the hypocrisy coming from Democrats on this, because Democrats in Congress are now calling for investigations into the Trump administration for insider trading. Get that? I mean, like, seriously, that is the funniest thing I've heard all week, as a matter of fact. Yes, I totally agree with these people. Let's investigate and see exactly where we've got some insider trading going on, because let's move a little bit past the Trump administration and go into Congress. Let's do that instead. As a matter of fact, some Congress people are calling for, an investigation into Congress for insider trading. And you're going to love this, y'all, because these very people, they are enriching themselves off the backs of you, because we pay their salary. And these people, you can just go check their net worths. Their net worths rise exponentially more than what they make annually. As a matter of fact, currently, they're only making $242,000 a year. Yeah, your congressman makes $242,000 a year. But when you go look at their net worth, most of them, I mean, you can check their career. It just goes up and up and up and up and up and up and up into the millions. No, I'm sorry. $242,000 a year, that's a pretty good amount of money. Not going to lie. However, that is not enough to make your net worth rise into the tens, hundreds of millions of dollars. Kind of like Nancy Pelosi over here, right? There's a meme out there that has actually turned into a real website that you can go and you can track all of Nancy Pelosi. Anytime she buys or sells stocks, you can go and follow those trades, right? They have to disclose their trades publicly. So you can go and follow these people and you will get rich. But the irony in all of this, right? Like anybody that was paying attention to the news, right? Like any viewers on this channel have known that, yeah, ever since this tariff war has started, I've been saying, look, this, yeah, sure, it's not good. A lot of people lost a lot of liquid assets, if you will, like fake money. Right, that's what I consider stocks. It's kind of just made up. It's imaginary money, right? You can go and make that hard assets, sure, by selling all your stocks. But as long as your money is tied up into those stocks, it's illusionary, especially the gains off of that. It's just illusionary money, as a matter of fact. But, what I find so fascinating is that, like I was saying, I've been talking about this ever since this trade war started. Hey, buy the dip. If you've got money, if you've got spare cash, go and buy stocks in something, because I guarantee you all this is going to go right back up. It's going to go back up. And it shot up for a day. Now it's coming back down. Hang on, that kind of blows this narrative, don't it? Because, insider trading, they're going to intentionally cause the stock market to dip so they can buy a bunch of stocks. And then, for whatever reason, they know it's going to shoot right back up because of, like, let's say, somebody announces a bunch of tariffs, which causes instability in the markets, and then that causes the markets to crash a little bit. So you go buy the stocks, and then they announce, we're canceling the tariffs. So the markets rebound. Exactly like what happened, right? Like, you can see that this is very, very surface level coming from the Democrats. But once again, the stock markets today went back down, blowing that narrative right apart, because they went back down, as a matter of fact. And Trump is not done. This tariff war is going on. It's continuing. But once again, and I've said this before, this is on multiple levels what we've got going on here. We've got several different key aspects to this. And, the blanket tariffs, when you first think about that, it kind of don't make any sense, because he's going to just put tariffs on everybody. Like, really? Like, there are some products that we get from other nations that we just can't make here, right? Like bananas. There's all kinds of stuff. Certain coffees, there's all kinds of different items, but regardless of that, so that doesn't make any sense. So there must be another play to this. Oh, lo and behold, come to find out, there absolutely was, as a matter of fact. Because I've got a couple of headlines I'm going to show you guys right quick just to get this out of the way. But check this out. Inflation. Oh, didn't they say that inflation was going to just shoot through the freaking roof? Inflation declined last month as gas prices dropped. Right? That's something else that I've been talking about. OPEC increased production. As a matter of fact, the United States is increasing production. So gas prices are going to spiral down a good little bit. Hopefully we can get them back to where they were in Trump's first term. Because around here, I don't know what you guys, let me know down in the comments what y'all were paying for gas during Trump's first term, right toward the end. But around here, it got down to $1.10 a gallon. That is right. I remember that like it was yesterday, because it really wasn't that long ago. It was, 6 years, 5 years, something like that. But check this one out. Trump's tariffs. Aishan ready for dialogue with U.S., not imposing retaliatory measures. That is right, because, once again, this was a negotiating tactic. Now all these countries are coming to the table, negotiating with Donald Trump. They're saying, okay, we won't retaliate because we're working out some sort of a free trade agreement, as a matter of fact. Australia refuses to join hands with China to fight U.S. tariffs. This is awesome, because what this is doing, what these tariffs on China are absolutely doing, and what Donald Trump's play is, with all these other blanket tariffs and getting all these other countries to come to the negotiating table, has put China in a box. As a matter of fact, it has pushed them into a corner. This is awesome. Donald Trump is intentionally crashing the Chinese economy on purpose. He's damaging ours in the process. But, that's going to happen. There's going to be collateral damage, of course. However, when we come out on the other side of this, we're going to be in a much better place, because Thucydides' trap, as a matter of fact, it's kind of the idea, it's a theory, if you will, that war tends to break out anytime you have a global hegemony, and then you get this other power that comes up to try to supplant this other power. And this is what China has been doing for a very, very long time. And, once again, that was at the behest of the United States. We have been allowing China to do this because, once again, the quote-unquote free trade, we didn't impose any tariffs on anybody, but the United States was getting tariffed through the nose by a lot of these countries. China is one of them. China does not play by the rules. They break the rules, as a matter of fact.
But Kevin, he said there's a lot of deals that they're literally kissing his ass, was the phrase he used, very eloquently. Where are the deals?
104% tariffs on China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. It's just not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on Earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Yeah, that is a fascinating, very, very fascinating clip coming from Kevin O'Leary. That came from the other day, as a matter of fact. And yeah, I had a news article for you guys, but it looks like I'm running kind of long on this one, so we might as well just go ahead and just discuss what the hell is going on with China, because that is bonkers, y'all. And we already know all the news, right? You know, Democrats, their blatant hypocrisy knows no bounds. They're wanting to investigate the Trump administration for insider trading. Good. Go right ahead. Good, fine, whatever. Let's expand that a little bit to include Congress, as a matter of fact, and then we can wrap that up with a nice little bow. But China. Okay, so we've been having all kinds of problems with China. Once again, they don't play by the rules whatsoever, right? What blows my mind, what NAFTA absolutely did, plus high taxes. NAFTA and high taxes. You gotta love that, y'all. You gotta love that. And that's one of the tax people, tax the rich people. That's one of their arguments for, well, look what we were doing back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s. We were taxing at a 90% rate for corporations, blah, 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 taxing the rich. Yeah, but look what happened to all the manufacturing in this country. You know, NAFTA was the cherry on top, as a matter of fact. We outsourced all of our manufacturing, so we don't make anything. This is one thing that kind of didn't make any sense to me at first when Donald Trump come out talking about he was adding trade deficits into that whole tariff equation. I'm like, hang on, Donald Trump, dude, my guy, you can't do anything about trade deficits. We don't have a lot of manufacturing in this country, but that's part of the plan, right? And I get it now. I totally get it. This is to bring back manufacturing. Get rid of some of these trade deficits, because all of this has been outsourced to China, right? So we take products, materials, if you will, from the United States, and it gets shipped to China, and they make stuff in China and then ship that back to the United States. That's a very imbalanced way to do quote unquote free trade, because those materials that we ship to China, they have to pay a duty once they enter into port, or start offloading, they have to pay that tariff into China, right? Raising the price already. And then they ship it back over here, undercutting American manufacturing, as a matter of fact, because you try to go get things like American flags, right? We have companies in this country that make American flags, but they're few and far in between. Most American flags, ironically, are sewn in China, which is weird, it's absurd, right? So that has happened on a vast scale. Donald Trump has been talking about, since NAFTA, we've lost 90,000 manufacturing plants. Talk about blow your freaking mind. Right, and Democrats put out this meme the other day. If I can find it, I'll throw it up right here as I'm talking about this. But it was AI generated nonsense. But it started off where you got this factory, a bunch of people sitting at sewing tables, right, and they're all obese for some reason. I don't know why they decided to do that, but it is what it is. But you see these people just sitting there sewing stuff at a sewing machine, right? And it's a factory. It zooms out and you see a bunch of people, and they're all sad and they're all blah, 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 looking like this. And then it cuts to another scene where it's a bunch of white people and they all look the same, and they're all sewing together phones, right? Not sewing, I'm sorry. Screwing. Those two words started with S, so in my mind they got confused. But they're sewing together. Yeah, I did it again, damn it. They're screwing phones together. Basically got one of those little air screwdrivers or whatever, and they're putting together phones. They're manufacturing phones, and they all look miserable, right? And then at the end it says, "Make America Great Again." And that is what the left absolutely thinks of you, right? Do they think that people won't do those jobs? As a matter of fact, right? We are in a crisis in this country right now. We're in a replacement crisis, all due to a lot of this woke ideology nonsense, because, with the feminism as well, I will blame some of this on feminism because of, abortions and all this, the tough girl boss thinking about her career first, which I don't have any problems with that, but it has resulted in a replacement crisis in this country. What do Democrats do about that? Let's import criminal aliens. Well, that's not a good idea. Then you get clashing of cultures, and there's all kind of variables. But getting back to China, China has just been not playing by the rules for a very, very long time. And what Donald Trump is doing is saying, you're not going to do that to us anymore. Democrats are crying foul. This is one of the best moves. Like, once again, it is, if we would have done this 20 years ago, if we would have put tariffs on China, blah, 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 our markets wouldn't have been affected as much, right? But it's gotten to a point to where it's getting to a really, really bad point. The deficits at this point are only going to increase. Look at not just the trade deficits is what I meant, but if you also, correlate the trade deficits with government deficits, they're oddly similar. They're very oddly similar. Okay, so you look back in the 90s, we balanced the budget. Yay. Good job, guys. But it has been getting insane ever since then. It's just been going up and up and up and up and up. Right along with the trade deficit going up and up and up and up. Manufacturing has been shutting down. Now a lot of our auto manufacturing has been outsourced to Canada, Mexico, and this is a problem. Because I saw this guy, and it's a really good analogy, the way he put it, so I'm going to steal that here for a second. So basically what that is, okay, let's say you make $500 a week. We'll just go with that round, nice figure, right? If you spend, I don't know, $600 a week, so that means you have a credit card. How long is it going to be until you reach your limit and you're not going to be able to do that anymore? That's essentially what has been happening with our government spending because of trade deficits, because we can't take in enough taxes, because there's not enough people in the workforce and there's not enough corporations manufacturing to take in taxes from these people to make enough money to fund the government. Plus, with government expansion, that has exacerbated that problem and has made things really, really bad, right? We are in a really, really tough position right now. Donald Trump coming in, doing this right now. This is probably the best time, right? Like any time since the year 2000 would be the best time to do that, in other words, right? Like it's getting to a point to where at some point it's going to be too late. Like, at what point do we stop? Because this will continue for, it would just continue indefinitely. If we were just to do nothing and continue this trend, more manufacturing is going to outsource. Because currently, we still have some manufacturing. It's not much, but we still have some, right? But this trend, as it has been, historically, if you will, we've been losing manufacturing just at a slow snail's pace. It was rapidly and now slowly over this past, say, 30 years. It was rapidly from, when did NAFTA go into place? I forget right off the top of my head, but it was, let's say around 1970, I believe, something like that. I think it was the 70s. So we lost a buttload of manufacturing all the way through the 80s. And then in the 90s, it kind of leveled out, right? So I'm not trying to say that, all of this is all great. All these billionaires, all these people that deal in the stock markets losing a lot of money. Honestly, I could care less personally, but because I'm not invested in the stock market at all. But I do understand the plight of the upper middle class to ultra wealthy class. Like, I understand that you lost a lot of wealth, but most of these people don't feel bad for these people because a lot of the ultra wealthy, they're still up, over time, if you will, since their initial investment. So they're not losing anything. But there are a lot of people, a lot of 401ks that kind of lost a lot. Of course, they're probably not down either because the stock market has been in a bubble. So they've gained a lot. So that's something you got to think about. See, Democrats, they only like to see what's right in front of them, right? And they're just yelling, screaming, oh, the stock market crashed, blah, blah, blah. People lost millions of dollars. Yeah, but what was their initial investment? That's what you got to look at also. Like, when did they make those investments? Blah, 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 blah. It just goes on. But I understand, that a lot of people lost a lot of money, and that is never a good thing. However, once again, when you take a Band-Aid off, generally speaking, you do not slowly peel that Band-Aid off. You rip it off all at once, and that's what Donald Trump did, essentially. It had to be done. Like, I've been railing about this. I railed about this since this channel started, that spending the economy in this country has been in a bad way, and something has to give, right? Like with government spending. Something has to give. Well, speaking of, by the way, my next video, they just passed the budget resolution, as a matter of fact. The reconciliation bill just passed through the House. So I do believe that is going to Donald Trump's desk to be signed. So there we go. Lots of cuts coming in that. But so that's a good thing. That is a very good thing. Plus, caveat to that, the House also passed a bill to stop nationwide injunctions, as a matter of fact, which there's a lot of hurdles for that, because it's got to get some Democrat support. That's one of those bills where you got to get at least 60 votes for it to pass. 2/3 of the states have to agree for that, because it's a change to the Constitution. It's a change to the judiciary and how they operate in this country. So I don't think that's going to pass, but the House did pass it along party lines, obviously. And, Democrats, man, they just never, ever look past what is right in front of them. As a matter of fact, it's always like they have painted sunglasses on. They can't see past anything at all, because once Donald Trump comes out of office, right, if all these nationwide injunctions persist, a Democrat comes in, now Republicans will sue these people and have these judges, they'll venue shop and go to these districts where they know the judge is a Trump-appointed judge or blah, 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 a sympathetic judge to their cause, and these judges will issue nationwide injunctions halting whatever Democratic president, right? That's why it's such a boneheaded maneuver for these people to advocate for getting rid of the filibuster. Makes no sense. Oh, we want to pack the court. As a matter of fact, I would love it if Donald Trump and House Republicans came out right now and said, we agree with Democrats. Let's get rid of the filibuster and let's go ahead and pack the Supreme Court. Because Donald Trump would oversee adding on many, many more conservative judges. And it would just throw that right in their face. We can make a montage of Democrats talking about packing the courts ever since, 2022? Yeah, ever since Roe versus Wade, they've been yelling, screaming about that ever since, y'all. But I'm running along on this one, so y'all let me know what y'all think about all this, and y'all stay tuned for the next video. Bet you didn't think I was going to say that, did you? Y'all let me know what y'all think. That's all I got on this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day. Stay legitical. Peace.